On January 17, 2008, Jane Kowalski was standing in traffic when she heard the terrifying screams of a nearby car. She immediately called 911. But the operators of the rescue service made a monstrous mistake that cost the life of an innocent person. Nathan and Denise met in high school. She was shy and withdrawn, and he was popular and athletic. After Nathan graduated from high school, Denise was still a high school student. She plucked up the courage and asked him out. It was a little awkward because we had just met. And you know, Valentine's Day has already arrived. We both didn't know what to do. We fell in love. As a result, I gave her a little ring with a heart. After 17 months, Nathan and Denise got married. They really wanted to start a family, and by the time the girl turned 21, she was already a mother of 2 little boys. On January 17, 2008, at 11:20 a.m., Nathan called his wife from work. The couple talked about the good weather, and Denise said that she had already opened the windows in the house. After lunch, the girl took her eldest son out to the back porch to get a haircut. At about 14:30, Denise's neighbor Jennifer Eckert noticed a green mosquito that was driving very slowly through the area. At first, she assumed that the driver got lost because he drove past her house several times. Finally, Kamara pulled into Denise's driveway. Believing that the driver had found the address he was looking for, Jennifer stopped paying attention to him, until she saw that after 10 minutes, the car left again. Half an hour later, Nathan called Denise on his way home from work, but there was no response from his wife. It was so unusual that he kept calling her back for 25 minutes. When he arrived home, he realized that something was wrong. His children were alone in the house. The keys and the wife's mobile phone were in their place. And remember how Denise said she left the windows open. I started to worry, and then I looked at the windows. I noticed that the house is hot. I noticed that the windows were closed, but they were not closed or latched, like someone in a hurry pushed them. Then Nathan called 911. Sarasota County Rescue Service. Yes, I am at 7912 Latora Avenue. I just got back from work, and my wife, I can't find her. My children were in the house. I do not know where she is. I searched the place. Nathan was very smart. He called his father-in-law, Detective Rick Goff. I say, hey, you guys want to come over to eat? That's the first thing I asked him. And he says, I can't, Denise is gone. Rick's connections with the police. And they allowed him to make several phone calls and get serious about his daughter's case. Moreover, he convinced his fellow police officers that Nathan was definitely innocent. Therefore, after interviewing neighbors, Sarasota police received a tip from Jennifer about a green mosquito. Meanwhile, a man named Harold Maxlew was visited by his cousin Michael King. Michael drove up to Gerald's house on a green mosquito, got out of the car, and asked to borrow a shovel, a can of gasoline, and a flashlight. Harold asked why he needed these items. Michael then said that his lawn mower stalled in a ditch. Then Gerald heard a woman's voice shouting, "Call the police," in the back seat of the car. I turned around and started walking there, and he said, "Don't worry about it," and left. The most surprising thing is that Gerald didn't call the police. He later said that this happened because he knew that Michael often has dramas in relationships, and thought that this was just another case of the same. But the man was clearly worried about this, and immediately called his daughter Sabrina, and told about what had happened. Sabrina, in turn, called 911. Where could he have gone with this woman? He went into my father's house, borrowed a shovel, a gas cylinder, and something else. Okay, we're already looking for this woman. You did well to call us and give us this information. Sabrina told the rescue service that her uncle's name was Michael King. The fact that he was riding a green mosquito was a strong hint that he was the one who kidnapped Denise. While Michael was busy collecting things, Dennis managed to steal his mobile phone and call 911 from the car. The audio recording of this call is fuzzy, but you can still hear Dennis brilliantly trying to answer the operator's questions, without telling Michael that she is on the phone. What address are you at? Where are we going? Because of what you did, I now have to constantly go around. Up or where? The conversation lasted almost 6 minutes, after which Michael realized that Dennis had taken over his phone. Unfortunately, the police are unable to trace the call, but we did not receive information about the approximate area for mobile phone signals. About 18.30, Jane Kowalski was sitting in traffic when she heard screams from a nearby car at a traffic light. Just a terrifying loud scream. I've never heard anything like it. I turned around and saw a man. I looked at him with an expression of "What's going on in your car? Have you made eye contact?" "Oh, of course." But suddenly after that a hand appeared and started knocking on the passenger window. Believing that she witnessed the abduction of a child, Jane Kowalski called 911. That's where it all went wrong. Jane's call was not directed to the Sarasota police, who were dealing with the case of Dennis, but to the Charlotte County Police. The 911 operator did not make a call to the computer, as it is usually done. Instead, believing that it would be faster, he transmitted the information verbally to 2 dispatchers in the office. And each of them thought that the other had already dealt with the tip and passed the message, as a result of which the police were never called. In the end, Kamara made a sharp left turn, and Jane lost him in traffic. For almost 3 hours, there was no sign of Dennis. At this time, Harold Maxwell decided to call the police about the strange behavior of his cousin. He could not provide any new information, but confirmed that the driver of the Kamara was Michael King. Then in 2116, the police stopped the green Kamara. The testimony of Harold Maxwell, his daughter Sabrina, and neighbor Jennifer made it clear that it was the car and the driver that they were looking. But Dennis was no longer in the car. We found a piece of paper with a footprint on the floor of the car. There was a gas canister on the passenger seat. There was a blanket in the back of the car, a ring, part of a shovel that appeared to have been used. The ring found by the police in the back of the Mosquito was a ring that Nathan had given to Dennis on their first Valentine's Day. When Michael was arrested, he came up with a very stupid cover story. The man told the police that he was also a victim of kidnapping, that he and Dennis were abducted together, and he was blindfolded so that he could not see what happened to her. The police pretended to believe him, hoping that his description of the fictional abduction would give them clues about the real abduction. But Michael did not transfer them to Dennis, and in the end the police abandoned the pretense and charged him with kidnapping. Meanwhile, the police and dog teams were looking for Dennis. They searched the perimeter around the place where they stopped Michael and eventually found what they feared was a shallow grave. Between when Michael was seen in traffic and when he was detained, he raped and killed Denise Amber Lee. The cause of her death was a gunshot wound to the head. No connection has ever been found between Michael King and Dennis. Connection. As far as we can tell, the abduction was completely accidental. The evidence found in Michael's car, combined with eyewitness accounts and the fact that his DNA was on her body, made it abundantly clear that Michael King had abducted, and Dennis killed him. His defense team tried to present a story that King had an accomplice. In other words, he confessed to kidnapping rapes, but said that maybe someone else committed the murder. It was sheer nonsense, and Michael King was sentenced to death. He is currently on death row in Florida. Only after the body of Dennis was found, the biggest mistake in this case was revealed. After learning about the arrest of Michael King, Jane Kowalski contacted the police, believing that they would want to talk to her as a witness. But because her call was redirected to the wrong county, Sarasota police didn't even hear about her call. I didn't know who she was, but I definitely recognized him. And I was like, my God, I can't believe it. In the end, I called the Sarasota Police Department and said, I called 911. Do you need any more information from me? And they didn't know who I was. It is impossible to say what would have happened if Jane Kowalski's call had been registered properly, or if dispatchers had sent a car. But this phone call lasted 8 minutes, and Kowalski told dispatchers the exact location of Kamar when Dennis was still alive. At that time, there were 4 patrol cars within a radius of 1 kilometer. It is likely that this mistake cost up to the bottom of life. Nathan sued the Charlotte County Rescue Service and in 2012 received compensation in the amount of $1,250,000, which was divided between his 2 sons and his father Dennis. Since then, Nathan has dedicated his entire life to helping organize proper training for 911 operators. The Denise Amber Lee Act was signed into law in 2008. It requires those who take emergency calls to undergo 232 hours of advanced training. The law was unanimously adopted by the legislators of the state of Florida. But like many other types of 911 operator training in the United States, these 232 hours are completely voluntary. What do you think about this story? Write your opinion in the comments, as well as subscribe to my YouTube channel and other social networks. There is a link to them in the pinned comment under the video. We don't say goodbye.